organizations.
Several international agencies, funding agencies, are now turning down requests from India because we're growing. Because India is not a poor country anymore, because we have apparently reached developed status or getting there. I read a report a couple of days ago saying that almost 25 agencies have said they're not going to fund any more projects in India. But they only want to come in on this. How difficult has it been on the ground? What kind of impact has it had?
No, definitely. I mean, I think India is a superpower, as I said earlier. I think we've, have fared better than most countries have in the latest economic crisis. I think people are seeing wealth that has been created in this country and asking, what are Indians doing for India? And we should be doing stuff in other countries that really need it. And I think that's really one of the points of the Indian Philanthropy Forum, is realizing that these international taps of funding are running dry. And it's about time we take responsibility, the onus on ourselves to start giving back to our societies and communities. A, it's sustainable, and B, pretty soon people won't want to fund India. They will go to other places. And I think it's only natural for them to do so because we have achieved a great amount of success at a certain level, but that trickle down, unfortunately, has not been demonstrated as of yet.
Sure.
Can we have a competition? Who gives more to charity, to philanthropy? Really, can we compete with each other for that, rather than who's having the biggest wedding or the biggest diamond?
Indian Philanthropy League. Next one. Why not?
हेलो पहले क्यों नहीं बताया? अच्छा आ रहा हूँ.
कितनी बार याद दिलाया, इनका तो हमेशा. अब मैं भी क्या कहया करूँ?
चलो
तो कुछ भी
तैयार होकर घर से निकल रहा था, तब क्यों नहीं बताया?
बताया था.
पता नहीं कहाँ रख देती हो?
टेबल पे ही तो रखे थे न रोज की तरह.
पानी दो.
लगता है इसके साथ बादाम भी खिलाना पड़ेगा आपको.
तुम्हारी याददाश्त तो बहुत.
हाँ ठीक है, अभी जल्दी जाइए, आपकी बस निकल जाएगी. जाओ.
रिश्ते कई तरह के होते हैं और हम हर एक की अहमियत समझते हैं. बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, रिश्तों की जमा पूंजी.
Presenting Listerine Antiseptic Mouthwash. Listerine kills germs that cause cavities, bad breath, and bleeding gums by reaching your whole mouth, even the places your toothbrush cannot, leaving your mouth germ-free to prevent oral problems. Listerine, it's dynamite against germs.
How can wealth creation be impacted by market moves? In this interactive session with industry experts, we see how to operate and manage mutual funds. Canara Robeco and CNBC TV18 present Sustainable Wealth Creation Forum, the Mutual Fund Way, at these times only on CNBC TV18.
Brought to you by Canara Robeco Mutual Fund. Benefit from expertise. Invest in mutual funds. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risk. Read the offer document carefully before investing.
भारतीय डाक आम आदमी के साथ. इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मनी ऑर्डर के जरिए पैसे शहर से गांव तुरंत पहुंचते हैं. अब बेटी की फीस भरने में देरी नहीं होती.
डाकघर के जरिए महात्मा गांधी राष्ट्रीय ग्रामीण रोजगार गारंटी योजना से पाए रोजगार के पैसे सुरक्षित मिल जाते हैं.
भारतीय डाक, बदलते वक्त के साथ बदलता डाकघर. आपका इंडिया पोस्ट, आज का इंडिया पोस्ट.
डैड, मुझे अपनी जीप में फॉग लैंप्स फिट करने हैं और नया मोबाइल भी लेना है. पैसे दो ना.
डैड इसे देखिए, ये पैसे पानी की तरह बहाता है और मैं दिन रात मेहनत करके पैसे बचाता हूँ. Because the son I've always wanted to have.
किससे बात कर रहे हो?
The highly efficient energy-saving air conditioners from Hitachi with direct efficient technology.
If funding is difficult to get, and if there are so many issues to be addressed, Michael, perhaps I can ask you this. Should an NGO, a non-governmental organization, be not-for-profit?
There are great examples of NGOs that have launched great non-profit activities. There are many that are sitting here with us. But let me just say, for example, Amnesty International has done great work. This will never be a for-profit effort. But there are other NGOs that have launched great examples of taking solutions of the market to address issues of poverty. Microfinance is one of them. Microfinance today is one of the great examples of harnessing the market to serve the poor. Yet it couldn't have started without the intervention of what I would call effective philanthropy. And I think there are great lessons there in why in the leverage capability of good philanthropy applied to ideas that can change the world.
Can I take that?
Sure.
I think I'm somewhat familiar with the microfinance sector, and I think so far it's doing well. I hope it's not building up a bubble in India. Let's cross our fingers on behalf of the poor. But I would say there are some things that markets can do and do them very well. There are some things that markets cannot do, and that requires different kind of subsidized work with committed people who want sustainable change, especially in a society like ours, where more perhaps than any other society for thousands of years we have practiced very structured and institutionalized discrimination. So there are places where there is a social distance. You may create a bank, and you may create an ATM, and you may create a system or a business correspondent. What you cannot bridge is the social distance between the Dalit or a woman who is in a parda inside her house and that institution. It requires many other things to happen, and that's the space below the market and below the state. So markets cannot have solutions to those kind of problems, so they have solutions, Michael, to many other things.
I think the reality of this, if you want to expand, and if you don't have the resources, keeping in mind these sensitivities that both Rohini and Deval are talking about, how does one do that?
But I do think obviously India has a tremendous amount of wealthy people. I think there are 500,000 millionaires in India at the moment, which it was in the paper yesterday, and that's more than the population of Luxembourg. But I think fundamentally as well is a problem in that the government purse, the taxation, the income that comes from government is very, very limited. I mean, you have 3% of India at the moment paying taxes. And the way that the taxpayers are now falling to the market isn't in line with the increasing growth of the labour market. So I think there is a fundamental issue with the availability of funds in India from government. I think just the second point as well is about what drives an NGO and what sort of dynamics there are. And I think, you know, when you go into the NGO world, they're full of very passionate people. It's very high emotional quotient. They're very flat structures, often very democratic structures, but they lack a lot of process. And I think this is where there could be good partnership. I think you look in the corporate body and you'll see probably the absolute flip side of that. You probably see much less purpose, but lots and lots of process. And I think, you know, I think this is where the marriage can work extremely well between the corporate body and the NGO body, in terms of being able to grow and expand by bringing some of those qualities to both sides. I think it's a two-way process.
Really, you made the point when you had made the keynote address that, you know, NGOs or the non-governmental space reaches out where the market can't reach or where the state can't reach. As India develops, do you think this role is going to get bigger, or do you think this role is going to get reduced? Merely because I'm expecting that the state will start delivering at some point.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I think the state is trying very hard to partner with both business and NGOs to in fact deliver better public services on the ground. We're seeing good movement on that. But I think that space will naturally remain the prerogative of the voluntary sector. And I think today one of the key things that's happening is, even if you teach a man how to fish, what's happening is the places where he used to fish, he knew how to fish, the places where he used to fish, the lakes, the streams, the ponds, they've either got more and more, the commons are becoming privatized, he has no control of the decision making in that, the ecological natural resource base on which our economy depends and rests is getting eroded. So that finally allowing people to have the voice in that decision-making process will remain the preserve of the voluntary sector.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, more power to NGOs and more power to the Indian Philanthropy Forum. That's all the time we have. Thanks so much for joining us, all of you. Thank my panelists as well for this wonderful discussion. Thank you all.